hold on a second. I will call the joint meeting of the Everman Economic Development Corporation and the Everman City Council to order. It is Tuesday, May 7th, 2024. Time is 6:01. If everybody please rise for a moment of silence, followed by a pledge. Okay, first item on our agenda is presentations. We are here to honor the Binions on their 70th wedding anniversary coming up on May 15th. Proclamation declaring May 15th, 2024 as Walter and Sarita Ann Binion Day. Whereas Walter Binion served in the United States Navy as a corpsman, spending much of his service time in Camp Pendleton, California, and whereas at a young age during his service, Walter met Sarita Ann, and they would later be married on May 15th, 1954, and are now celebrating their 70th wedding anniversary. And whereas Mr. and Mrs. Binion have been residents of Everman since 1960 and are proud parents and grandparents, and whereas their life together has been one of service to family, friends, community, and country, and we are pleased to join with their many good friends and relatives in extending our best wishes on this happy occasion. Now therefore be proclaimed by the City Council of the City of Everman that we proclaim May 15, 2024 as Walter and Sarita Ann Binion Day in the City of Everman. We urge all citizens to join us in celebrating this tremendous milestone, and we extend our best wishes to Mr. and Mrs. Binion for health and happiness in the years ahead. Yeah.
Can you turn your mic on? Sorry. Is that on?
Okay, at this point, we're going to take about a 15-minute break. We've got a cake, and we're going to get the Binions to cut the cake, and we've got another plaque over here for you to take home with you. And there's flowers for you. So, well, it's not your anniversary yet, too, but you got 8 days to go. So, but we're going to take a 15-minute break. The time is 6:06. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting back to order. The time is 6:19. Next item on the agenda is a proclamation for National Police Week. Proclamation declaring May 12th, 2024 to May 18th, 2024 as National Police Week. Whereas there are more than 800,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including dedicated members of the Everman Police Department, and whereas since the first recorded death in 1786, more than 23,000 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and been killed in the line of duty, including Everman Sergeant Alex Arango. And whereas the names of those dedicated public servants are engraved on the wall of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C., and whereas the service and sacrifice of all officers killed in the line of duty will be honored on May 15th, which was proclaimed by President John F. Kennedy in 1962 as National Peace Officers Day. And whereas it is important that we recognize the loyal devotion, faithful service, and the willingness to sacrifice that all public safety officers display, past and present. And whereas this week we pay tribute to the men and women who set aside fear and doubt, these officers who preserve the rule of law for our city of Everman, and now therefore it be proclaimed by the City Council of the City of Everman that we proclaim May 12, 2024 to May 18, 2024 as National Police Week in the City of Everman. We urge all citizens to join us in recognizing Everman police officers and reflect on their invaluable contributions as we enjoy the peace they bring to our city, and let us vow that their service will never be taken for granted. So I'll go ahead and ask all the police officers to come up. Everything you do for our city, so keep up the good work. So. Okay, we have one more proclamation for National Public Works Week. Proclamation declaring May 19, 2024 to May 25, 2024 as National Public Works Week. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Everman. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated effort of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest of the citizens, civic leaders, and children in Everman to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2024 marks the 64th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now therefore be proclaimed by the City Council of the City of Everman that we proclaim May 21st, 2023 to May 27th, 2023 as National Public Works Week in the City of Everman. We urge all citizens to join us in recognizing Everman Public Works employees and reflect on their invaluable contributions to the community in which we live, work, and play. So, Gilbert. If you can get the Public Works people to come up. I'll give it to you, Gilbert. So, get up here, you can be seen, guys. So, don't let Gilbert block you out. So,
He's hiding behind Gilbert there.
all right. Same thing to you guys. Keep up the good work. We appreciate everything you guys do. So, thanks, guys. Okay, next item is a presentation of the fiscal year 2023 financial audit report by Patillo, Brown, and Hill, LLP.
Yeah.
And Mayor, for this, we have Mr. John Manning here. And I believe each of you should have a copy of the draft report in front of you that he'll be discussing. John, we'll turn it over to you, sir.
All right, Mayor, Council, can y'all hear me okay? Great. Hi, my name's John Manning, and I'm a partner with Patillo, Brown & Hill, and we have conducted the audit for the City of Everman as of 9/30/2023, and we have the draft report here to go over just to talk about some of the high points. Our firm was selected this year through the RFP process as the firm to perform the audit for the City of Everman, and we were very pleased to find that everything was in good working order and that the people here were extremely easy to work with, got us our items needed list, and I think we're here earlier than we have been in the past due to the fact that management gave us what we needed. So with that, I'm actually going to start in the report that has the cover with the police car, and bear with me, it's kind of, I just have to flip a little bit to get to the pages. So if you'll look at pages 1, 2, and 3, although we help the city prepare the financials are the responsibility of the City of Everman. Our responsibility is to express an opinion on those numbers and disclosures that are within this report. And what we have here is what we call an unmodified opinion, which of the 4 types of opinions that we can give, this is what we call the best. It means we did not have to modify our opinion for pieces of information that the city was not keeping, or that there were internal control deficiencies that would make doing a regular audit report not possible. So I know that you guys have debt. Y'all periodically get debt. Y'all have grants. You're already spending ARPA money this year. So any grantors, any people that are issuing debt, they look at this and they like to know that there is a very good chance that the monies that they give to the city will be spent properly, recorded right, and spent on the proper things. So although only 3 pages, a really big part of the report. If you look at page 4, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but for those of you that don't do what I do all day, which is look at financial statements of governments, this was put in several years ago. It's called the Management's Discussion and Analysis, and what this does is take the 60-page report and kind of break it down into narrative format for people that aren't auditors. It's really the only place anymore that has comparative data. So if you don't have a lot of time, I know y'all are busy doing regular jobs on top of this, this is a place that I would direct your attention to kind of look at what went way up, what went down, and what kind of changed throughout the year. So with that, I'd like to move over to the actual numerical part of the financials and go to page 13. This is your balance sheet, and you have 2 funds that meet the criteria to be presented individually, or what we call major funds. It's your general fund and your capital project fund. And one thing that we were talking about when we were going over the draft is the good thing about governments, especially governments this size, is their balance sheet does not have a lot of what we call audit risk, meaning the risk of this number being wrong after our test work. When you look at and go down, you ended the year with about $236,000 of cash. You have $270,000 of taxes that are still due from either delinquent property taxes or your 2-month lag in sales tax. You have fines receivable, you have ambulance receivable. These things are very easy to audit, meaning we can send confirmations out and third parties provide information to let us know that these numbers are correct. $50,000 of cash and we just confirmation and they verify balances are there. So not a very complicated balance sheet, about 1.3 million of restricted assets and ended right at almost $3 million of net assets at about 2.8. Liabilities, again, are very straightforward. Your biggest one right now is unearned revenue, which is essentially the ARPA money that you guys received that you haven't spent yet. So with the way grants work, with you guys having that money and not having spent it yet, we call it what's called unearned revenue or a liability. And as you spend it, we remove it from a liability and call it revenue. So again, the general fund was at a deficit of $372,000, which is up from last year. And that's very good to see. If you'll look over on page 15, you can see a summary of your income statement, which is 12 months of revenue and expenses. And again, not a lot of risk here. When you look at your property taxes and your sales tax, which are your two biggest revenue drivers for your governmental funds, we confirm that 100% with outside parties through Tarrant County and through the state of Texas. I mean, we literally can audit $1 million worth of revenue in about 30 minutes with the way sales tax work and how we do those. Again, a bunch of different charges for services, fines. You can see that your grant numbers ended up at about 1.6 million, a lot of that with the ARPA funding. I'll go over that in a little bit. The other thing that's nice is investment earnings are going up. The money that you do have in the bank is now being rewarded for them using your money. In the past, it's been negligible. With the rate increases, a lot of things are negative about that, but for monies that you have housed with financial institutions, you're starting to get a return on investment there. If you go down to the bottom, you can see that the general fund had about $1 million transferred in from various funds. There were some new leases and some new financing arrangements that were issued. And again, general fund increased at right almost $100,000 over last year. So that's great to see in light of what's, just making sure that the finances of the city are moving in a positive direction. Page 17 and 18 are your balance sheet for your proprietary funds. And again, very similar to your balance sheet for your governmental funds, except that we have all of your water equipment, infrastructure, and all those things recorded. So these numbers look bigger only because they have capital assets in there. We also have your long-term debt that's associated with the water sewer funds. Again, nothing here out of the ordinary. Everything came back exactly in line with where we thought it would as far as our test work was concerned. And if you'll look at page 19, you can see here, this is your income statement or 12 months of revenue and expenses for your water fund. And again, there was a $885,000 change in net position there. So I know that you guys have done some new fees and some new fee structures. And it's good to see that those are coming in and making the water department more profitable and leaving some reserve there for future capital projects and improvements as improving the water system does nothing but continue to cost more year after year. So that's kind of an overview of the financial statements themselves. If you go towards the back, because the city did spend over $750,000 of federal funds. If you look at page 61, this year y'all were almost at $1,030,000 of spending federal funds, predominantly your ARPA money, and then the ones that were passed through Tarrant County. Those were about $970,000 this year, and we tested those. We sample transactions and make sure that you're spending those things on allowable items, that you're reporting properly, that you're reporting timely, and we did not have any issues at all with those funds. And trust me, if administration wasn't filing reports or was spending this stuff, you would already have people here wondering what's going on. They really have been raking the ARPA monies over the coal just because there was so much money put out there. They're really trying to make sure that people are spending it, in line with what the grant requirements called for. So all in all, for a first-year audit, things went very well. Suzanne and Craig, we met several times, going over our items needed list. The numbers that you're getting on an interim basis are very close to what's here, with the exception of just some things that we have to do to get a balance sheet to 9/30 just to measure it for one day of the year. But, the finances are in good hands. The administration was super helpful, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have, and we really appreciate being of service to the city and being selected as their auditors. And if you guys have any questions, I'll be glad to entertain those now.
I have a question. We received $414,000 from Mark Vesey, the congressman, and we didn't spend it. So would that be in this report?
Councilwoman Allen, we did not receive those funds. They were promised, but no funds have been received yet due to federal compliance. So we haven't actually received any money just yet, so it would not be included within this audit. If we are able to comply with the federal regulations, clear the environmental study, and get approved for those funds to actually be given to us, then yes, that would be included in the fiscal year 24 audit.
Yeah, the only funds that y'all have here are the ARPA that y'all actually received a couple years ago. And those unspent proceeds, they are reflected here, but the new grant that you're talking about, I think, was more maybe of a grant possibility or grant notification, not actual receipt of funds.
On page 12, where it lists numbers, where are the items, the line items that are supposed to be with it? On
Okay,
page
can you
12.
say that again, ma'am?
On page 12,
Uh-huh.
there are 3 columns of numbers. Where are the items, the rows that are, sorry about that. What is it supposed to be representing? Like the first item is 826,616. What is that for?
11 and 12 are meant to be laid across and looked at like a book.
Okay.
So it's kind of hard to look at it if you've just got it in a single page. If you lay them out, I went over these numbers in a different format, but GASB requires what's called the government-wide financials. And if you place those across from each other, you can kind of see that it's different than a regular income statement because your expenses start on the left, and any charges for services that you get that you can apply to those functions are listed in those 3 columns on page 11. And then what's left is essentially saying these are services that we're providing, but we can't charge enough in charges for services like fire, different things like that. So those are paid for through property taxes. So if you go across, you can see that there is deficits there because predominantly a lot of those services are paid for with property taxes and sales tax, where if you look at the water sewer, when you go across, you can see that there's a positive number there because that generates enough fees to pay for its cost itself. I'm hoping that helps some.
On page 13, what is deferred inflows of resources?
Those are monies that you have as a receivable, meaning they're owed to you. But under governmental accounting rules, if you do not receive it within 60 days after year end, we have to defer it because they do not want things that are not going to be collected in the near future to be called revenue. Okay. Yes, ma'am. So like if you look in there, it's like unpaid parking tickets, unpaid property taxes, unpaid ambulance. They're booked as a receivable, but because the balances weren't collected within 60 days, we defer it. Same with your ARPA money.
Any other questions, comments? I would like to say I appreciate getting a financial report that's a little bit more favorable, and it shows what we're trying to do as a city.
Agreed.
And compared to the ones we've had in the past, so.
Right, and we can see, I've seen places that go through a really healthy fund balance in one fiscal period, and then it takes 5 or 6 to get back to where you want to be. So from what we looked at, if we would have seen another trend of, big deficits, we may have had to put something in the report for that, but we can see, in looking at next year's budget and looking at where when I say next year, I mean 24. We can see that y'all have a plan in place to continue to grow the finances, so we're pleased to be a part of that.
Well, nothing else, and thank you for coming in and making the presentation.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now, the city council meeting is recessed, and we're going into the EDC meeting. Next item is consideration of possible action by the Economic Development Corporation, item A, resolution number, is that part of the number? EDC 2024-05-01, resolution of the Board of Directors of the Everman Economic Development Corporation approving a First Amendment to Economic Development Performance and 380 agreement between the City of Everman, the Everman Economic Development Corporation, and Munier Development Partners, LLC, and authorizing the Executive Director to sign the same, providing for a repealing clause and declaring an effective date.
All right. So although the city, I'm sorry, can y'all turn your mics? If your mic's on, can you turn it off unless you're talking? Sorry. That's where that feedback comes from. Mike is on vacation. His timing was epic. So you get to hear from me. And although the city council meeting is recessed, maybe for time's sake, I'll try to cover all of this in this discussion. That way when we get to the item on the city council agenda, we can move through that pretty quickly. But this is actually an amendment to the original 380 agreement related to Munier. And if, Eliza, do you mind putting the slideshow up so I can show? This project is the one located on North Ray Street, almost directly across the street from the Memorial Park. There are several lots here that were originally conveyed to, some were conveyed to EDC, some were conveyed to the city, hence why we've had kind of this hodgepodge of city council conveying some of these lots and EDC conveying some of these lots to the developer. The developer has updated the site plan to reflect what they can do. Originally, if you recall, the site plan for this location included a two-story, part commercial, part residential build, where the residential component was going to be the second and third story potential on top of some commercial retail. Unfortunately, the developer ran into some struggles on insurance related to that and found that there weren't many insurance companies that were willing to bond a project like that. So came back to the table, worked with Mike, our EDC director, to try to negotiate some new terms related to the 380 agreement. And this is the outcome of this. So their site plan is being updated to include 12 retail suites that'll all be lease suites, a restaurant, and then a separate professional building. The concept photo here is what they have also submitted to try to give you an idea of what they're looking to do with this project. This amendment has some updated timelines. I'd like to draw your attention to, in the packet, it's page 12 of the agreement. I'd like to bring up some of the changes here. One of the first changes is really the required use. If you look through the required uses, the developer is going to be required to comply with this in the 380 agreement. Phase 1 retail units and any Phase 3 retail units must be either a bakery and confectionery shop, ice cream, frozen yogurt parlors, restaurants, and so forth as you read through that. The Phase 2 restaurant facility must be a dine-in restaurant. And then for Phase 3, we are requiring within this agreement for it to be a medical facility, which can include medical, dental, chiropractic, optometry, podiatry, or veterinarian offices or clinics of some type. Hospital or medical clinics providing acute or extended patient care, such as maybe like an urgent care type facility is what the 380 agreement is pushing for. Drawing your attention, I went too far. I'm on the wrong thing here. Drawing your attention to page 13, directly behind that. At the bottom of page 13, Article 5, sections 5.03 through 5.07 is really the timeline that this 380 agreement is putting into place. This 380 agreement will put in a timeline requirement by the developer that they'll have to meet. with the first commencement of construction being March 1st, 2024. Obviously, we've already passed that because of the timeline, but they have already submitted and are ready to move forward. Really, the holdup on this agreement is on our end, so they're not in default of the agreement. The city is ready to move forward once we pass this. Commencement of Phase 2 construction will be January 1st, 2025. Commencement of construction of Phase 3, January 27th of 2026. And commencement of construction for Phase 1 improvements, January 27th, 2025. Completion of construction of Phase 2 improvements, January 1st of 2026. Sections 5.08 also includes a timeline, which is completion of Phase 3, September 27th, 2026. Those are the major changes in this 380 agreement. Everything else is essentially the same as it was before. Again, we're just amending a 380 agreement, not installing a whole new agreement. So I will do my best to answer any questions of EDC members, if you have any.
If not March 1st, when will they,
They are ready to submit for permits and ready to break ground almost immediately after we pass this. So they are waiting on us to finalize the legal documents so that they can move forward appropriately.
I can't remember if we,
I'm sorry, can I get your mic? Sorry.
can't remember if we, gave them the land or sold it. It's been so long. What was the procedure?
Yeah, so the 380 agreement, the original 380 agreement is that the EDC and the City Council have agreed to convey the land to the developer in exchange for them to develop this property in this manner. The original 380 agreement was that they would develop the property in the manner of the commercial with the 2- and 3-story residential suites on top. We're amending that now to just being solely commercial property.
In 3.2, it's saying that EDC will be paying the closing costs.
Closing costs have already been paid as a part of the initial 380 agreement. We've already closed and have sealed this over. So again,
And how much was the closing cost?
I do not know the answer to that offhand. Typically, it's nominal, a few $1,000s on the property for this size.
It was saying something to the effect of the grant amount, what was it, 330,000?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, the grant amount is the value of the property that was conveyed to the developer. So that is the value of those lots that the city and the EDC conveyed over to Munich. I'm sorry, say again, sir? It will go on tax roll once completion is done. So it would be January 2025 for Phase 1, I believe, is what the timeline was.
Any other questions? A motion made by Burl Hollingsworth and seconded by Jim Bauer. Any further discussion? Get it out there.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, so with that being said, the Economic Development Corporation is adjourned, and now we'll reconvene into the Everman Council meeting.
Unless y'all are just comfortable and want to hang out, you can, but you don't have to. It's completely up to y'all.
So next time is public hearing. We'll open the public hearing. The time is 6:48. Public hearing to receive citizens' input, comments, and feedback relating to a proposed application for the 50th year Tarrant County Community Development Block Grant CDBG project for a water main replacement along the 800 block of Marlene Drive.
All right, Mayor and Council, this is a, before we entertain any comments on this, this is a CDBG project like we do every year and every other year with CDBG. Typically, the focus of CDBG, the primary funding source or focus is for water line projects. That's what they look to fund the most is water line projects. So after some discussions with city engineer, obviously our director of public works, the recommendation came back to utilize and apply for these funds to use in the 800 block of Marlene. That would replace a 6-inch water line with a new 6-inch PVC water line, new gate valves and fire hydrants in Marlene Drive to eliminate main breaks in the area. It will also provide for replacement of the fire hydrants. Give me just 1 second. Let me give you the total cost breakout because there is going to be a match requirement from the city. So total estimated cost of this project is $219,932.50. Of that $219,000, if awarded, the CDBG 2024 award amount would be in the amount of $170,000, which means that the city would essentially be on the hook for roughly a little more than $48,000. We do have those funds allocated and available within our water and sewer fund. This would be included within the fiscal year 25 budget as we work towards that, because this project is not going to be completed prior to the completion of the 24 budget, so there won't be a need to amend our current budget. So this will be included in there if approved by council this evening. We actually applied for this project, full transparency, we applied for this project back in December and were approved for this project. We've discussed this before, but we failed to host the public hearing, which is a requirement for CDBG funds. So we are hosting the public hearing tonight to receive comments. We will ask you to pass a resolution tonight and get that resubmitted to them so that we don't miss out on these funds. So with that, any other comments, or if you want to entertain anything from the public on it?
Does anybody from the public wish to speak on the 50th year Tarrant County Community Block Grant? Okay, seeing none, then have any questions or comments from council? Okay, then I will close the public hearing. The time is 6:51. Correct? Next time is citizens' comments.
At this time, any person who desires to speak on any item posted on the agenda or any person with business before the city council not scheduled on the agenda may speak to the city council, provided that a speaker's request form has been completed and provided to the city secretary prior to the start of the meeting. Speakers are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, unless otherwise granted by the mayor. The city council cannot respond to matters not listed on the agenda until scheduled at a future meeting. Please direct all comments to the council. Proper respect, decorum, and conduct shall prevail at all times. Impertinent, slanderous, or personal attacks are strictly prohibited. Unauthorized remarks from the audience, stomping of feet, applauding, whistles, yells, or any type of disruptive behavior are prohibited, and violators may be removed. Mayor, we have Richard Garcia.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll be quick. So about a year ago, the Coca-Cola company came to us, to Tacos Oasis, and they told us about a competition they were having across the FW for a mural. So they were going to commission a mural in one restaurant, and after many presentations and pitches to many different executives, we won. Right, we got the mural, and this was about a year ago, the beginning of spring, and we started designing the mural. And at that point, I actually came to a few of you here in council to get your feedback into kind of like how it should be. And so we got right in the middle of it. We were designing it; it was going well, but they realized that you can't paint a mural on metal in the middle of summer. Right, it's too hot, especially on metal. The paint will just drip off. So they canceled it. right? They told us, well, too bad. I mean, it was a gift after all, so we're pretty bummed out. But a few weeks ago, they reached back out and they said, hey, we may be able to get funding for this again. They did say may. So I didn't get my hopes up, right? I thought, it might not happen again. I don't want to have my dreams crushed again. So we didn't think much of it. But a couple of weeks ago, they came and they said, no, we actually got the funding. It's approved. So that's when they sent over the final design, and I think y'all have it. I passed it out a few minutes ago. And that's when I came to the city, and I tried to look into what type of permit I needed to file. And after some digging, we found out that there's not really an ordinance to allow for something like this, right? So that's when Craig and his team, they got to work. And as you know, it takes quite a bit of work and research to look into these ordinances and, the attorneys and all of that. And the reason I'm here is because a few days ago, they reached out and they said, hey, the weather's looking pretty questionable, right? Next week is going to be raining. And if we wait further than that, we might have the same issue we had last year, which is it gets too hot, right? And tomorrow it's going to be hot. So they're thinking it may be a hot summer week. They were really worried. So they were proposing that they start this week, right? Obviously, our permit process is not finalized. And that's why I'm here. I wanted to show you what they have, what we have designed, what we have planned. The firm that Coca-Cola hired for this it's top of the line, right? They're a world-class firm. They travel across the country and they do murals like this for all sorts of customers, HB, Chick-fil-A, AT&T, all sorts. So, but on our own, we would never be able to do anything like this. Okay, see, yeah. So obviously, it's a tough situation. It's not something that I'm, happy about, because I'm the biggest believer in everything that we do here. That's why I come every time, and I appreciate everything y'all do, and I do accept whatever decision you make regarding this. Last thing I do want to say, I love this city. I think that this could really be something of a landmark for us, and I love it here, and I live here, I work here. I want to continue being a part of us. That's all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mayor, next we have Matt Lambert. Oh, okay, thank you. We have no more.
Now we'll move down to discussion items. Item A, discussion related to potential proposal for amending operational hours of certain city departments within the city and how such amendments may affect city services and operations.
Okay, so we started this discussion last meeting, and if you're able to, Eliza, can you share my screen again? There we go. Okay. And so we started this discussion at the last meeting. The request from specifically Mayor Pro Tem was, let's see what other cities are doing. So I did some digging, did some research, and I brought that back for you today to kind of continue the conversation. Again, we're not asking for approval of any certain policy tonight, but to hopefully provide guidance as we move forward. So in doing some research, I've gathered information from several cities, one of those being Bowie, Texas. Bowie, Texas does a 4-day work week process currently. They're Monday through Thursday. They are working 10 hours with closed on Friday. Farmers Branch, Texas does a 4-day work week, Monday through Thursday. Utilities, permits, inspections work 4 10-hour days, but services are Monday through Friday. So what that means is they have enough staff that the staff is only working 4 days a week, but they're switching out to where maybe some will work Monday through Thursday, and they have a couple of other staff members that work Tuesday through Friday. That one may be a little tough for us considering the number of staff, but that is a model that they have. Administration is 4 days. Crum, Texas does a modified schedule, so they work Monday through Thursday from 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., and then Friday it's 7:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Saxe, Texas does a very similar modified schedule, Monday through Thursday, 7:30 to 5:30, and then Friday, 7:30 to 11:30. Saginaw Public Works, which includes public services, parks, drainage, and permits, is a 4-day work week. Utility billing works Monday through Thursday, 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., and then Fridays is 7:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Rowlett does a 4-day weekly, 9-hour days. City grants, can you turn my in-house mic down just a little bit? Sorry. The city grants 4 hours of city paid time, and operations continue Monday through Friday. I don't like this because I think this is opening a door, quite frankly, for us on auditing, and then when we get to talking about the treatment of personnel, how do we grant a certain group of employees 4 free hours of pay while we make other groups of employees work 40 hours a week? I don't like that. I think that's opening a big door for us. I'm just not a fan of that one. I don't know, I would not have recommended that one, but that's an example. Forest Hill, our neighbor to the north, their city hall is open 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and they just rotate employees taking extra days off. So they may have an employee who wants to take a Wednesday off, so that employee just takes a Wednesday off. They may have an employee that takes a Friday off. They just kind of rotate them around as they go, but their employees do typically work 4 to 5 days a week. There's not really a set schedule for each one of the employees, but their city hall is open 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. In Tarrant County, the transportation department and administration is strictly Monday through Thursday, 4-day work week. So that brings me to kind of narrowing down some options to see what you think. Obviously, I'm going to show you 3. The 4th option is you just tell me to hush and we'll go away with this. But option 1 is a straight 4-day work week. A straight 4-day work week would be administration, city services, utility billing, courts, permitting, and public works all move to a 4-day work week. We could shift our schedule to Monday through Thursday from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., being 10 hours, and closed on Fridays entirely. Utility emergency on Fridays can still be reported through police dispatch, just like we do on Saturdays and Sundays. And then we would have rotating on-call for utility emergency on Friday with our public works department, just like we do on Saturday and Sunday now. The pros and cons to that is obviously very highly appealing for recruitment and retention of staff. I think it would increase morale. The fact that we're open earlier and later, 4 days a week for citizens, does make us a little bit more accessible to the working individual that works 8 to 5. And it has the least overtime probability going to that style schedule. The con to it is utility billing, courts, and permits would not be available on Fridays. Option 2, kind of a split modified, where administration, city services, utility billing, court, and permitting move to a modified schedule, meaning Monday through Thursday from 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., 9-hour days, with Fridays only being essentially a half day, 7:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. And Public Works moves to a 4-day work week, Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., off Fridays with an on-call for emergencies. Some of the pros and cons to this style schedule is it's still appealing for recruitment and retention, although it's obviously less appealing than option 1. It does increase our availability still over today by 30 minutes in the mornings and 30 minutes in the evenings for working citizens, and it assures some level of operations 5 days a week. The cons are it still limits availability to citizens on Friday afternoons, and there will likely be some overtime requirement here as well. Option 3 is just kind of a completely modified schedule where city services, UB, courts, permitting operate Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Staff makes adjustments to provide some level of staffing on each day while granting 4-day work weeks, but this would likely result in limited staff on hand Mondays through Fridays, meaning that typically we have 3 that are working up front between Edna and our two utility billing guys. If we were to do something like this, there's going to be times where we're down to either 1 or maybe 2 up front. Public Works could operate on a 4-day work week with rotating emergency on-calls. Pros here is that this is the highest availability for citizens. Obviously, would be available at 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. It is appealing to employees working a 4-day work week. The cons are it would likely require an increase in staffing levels to achieve, and because some of our departments are only operating with 1 person in them, or maybe 1 person and a part-timer like our permitting department. And it's difficult for department management because directors and supervisors are not going to have to kind of plan out schedules each week or every other week. And it has the highest overtime probability. So, I'd like to just open it up for your thoughts, what you think, so I can take this back and keep working with my staff and our team to come up with maybe a plan that would be acceptable to you, or if you just want me to push this aside altogether, I'll do that too. But,
You know, my concern is the Fridays we have court. Yeah, it's on. The Fridays we have court, how would that affect that?
yeah, we'd either have to, and you know, I haven't had a chance to get into in-depth conversations with our directors just yet on how this would work. I really wanted to get guidance from you before we started putting in all the work on what would even be acceptable to you. But I would imagine one of two things would be either our court would have to continue to operate on Fridays and we would be responsible for overtime associated with that, or we would have to adjust our court dates.
Well, because then you're bringing in a judge and a prosecuting attorney that would have to work around their schedule too, so.
So which option are we talking about? It'd be nice if, number one, it'd be nice if we had a printout of them so we could, I can't see that one way over there. So I got a crick in my neck now. It'd be nice if we had it printed out so we could, you know, see them. I can't remember half of what was up there because we would go to the next one and that wiped out my short-term memory.
So there are a couple, can we just turn the master down inside? It's like really loud, sorry.
It's echoing in my
Is the
ear.
master down? Perfect. Okay, so I'm still really loud. Yeah, keep going, keep going, keep going. There's only a few people in here now, so we're good. There we go, that's better. Okay. Okay, so option one being we go straight 4-day work week, closed Fridays.
Okay.
Option two being we go to modified where we're only open half a day on Friday. Option three being we go open all the way 7 a.m., 6 p.m., Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Those are kind of the three options that I was laying out.
I don't like three at all.
I don't like
whatever.
three at all
Yeah.
either,
No.
but I
That's
got
why.
to show you the options.
So you show us the bad ones so we can lop it off. I know that. You want me to quit helping you?
Friday, the busiest day.
You know, typically Fridays are not very busy at all unless it is a cutoff day. Either cutoff day or utility billing payment due date. So typically the 15th or 25th. Just like we do now, if the date of cutoff or the date of penalties occurs on a Saturday, it rolls to the following business day.
Yes.
So yes, we would absolutely do that. We would not change that. And again,
Kind of like that.
whatever we decide to do, if anything, I think public information is key, and putting out that information early, well in advance. I mean, I'm not, even if I brought this to you next week and council approved a change, I would say, hey, we need to plan this at least a month out so that we can try to share as much word with all of our citizens as possible. And it may take a month to get word to everybody, particularly those that are so used to coming into City Hall to make their water bill payments.
What about every other Friday?
That's an option I could work up. We would just have to kind of figure out number of hours and make some kind of awkward adjustments there.
That's
but
going to be confusing
it's
on the
doable.
citizens to know which Friday's going to be open or closed. That would be more confusing.
I like the Monday through Friday with the half-day option on Friday, but as well as the Public Works working from 7:30 to 11:30, and then being on-call emergency basis in the afternoon.
So that's B. You like B? Yes. Okay.
But she liked, just so I'm clear, so you would want Public Works to also move to that
Friday, half a day. And
working
then
half a day on Friday?
Yes.
So that
Okay.
way it's not that much overtime.
Just sharing what I think the feedback will be from them. It's going to be hard for them to achieve anything worthwhile in about 4 hours.
Yeah. I like A. I'm
Because
just gonna be
the
loud.
equipment spin up time and all that stuff in the mornings between them coming in. I just think that may be the only bad feedback I may get is that, hey, we're coming in for 4 hours, but by the time we get here, we get our equipment loaded, we go out to do a job or whatever it may be.
Time to
So
come back.
Fridays may wind up being more of a, how do I word this professionally? Fridays may
That's
wind
what
up
it's
being more of
gonna
a lazy day where they don't spin up that heavy equipment and we want them working. And so I think it might be more productive to keep them on if they do the long day.
Time for any who live more than a few minutes. It's not worth driving in for 4-hour shifts.
Yeah,
I don't know, I'm okay with the A,
yes.
provided we can get the court and all that situated without having to do with overtimes and this and that,
I mean, it's,
That concerns me, if we can get it moved.
Now, the pay for those individuals comes out of come out of our fund, or does it come out of the court?
Which
Fund.
individuals?
Well, like Edna and,
Edna is paid out of water fund as the
I mean,
UB
like, We're
supervisor.
talking about getting the judge here and all that for, the court, and,
Now, yeah, judge,
yeah.
but we wouldn't be, that's a flat rate that we pay, so
Right.
there wouldn't be
Switching the
there wouldn't be an
days.
adjustment on that.
Yeah,
Now,
but switching the day.
switching the day might necessarily, oh, she's paid out of general. Oh, my apologies, that was completely wrong there.
but she's the only one it would affect, right, on a Friday?
Well, and that's one Friday a month. If you're thinking about court, that's one Friday a month, and she could easily switch her day off to the Thursday or the Monday that week.
Yes.
That it,
To accommodate?
She could
Yeah,
flex.
yeah,
that's an easy.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there we are.
I'm not only thinking about it by court, I'm saying just Monday through Friday and having Friday available to the citizens from 7:30 to 11:30.
To 11:30. I don't disagree with that, I understand.
Can I bring up a different perspective?
Sure.
The citizens, if they notice that Public Works, I'm just using an example, Public Works is not working and the streets are a mess, why are these people getting off when they could be working fixing the streets?
Well, they're getting their hours in. They're not getting fewer hours. They're just
Yeah.
working more hours,
But
fewer
I
days
don't
a
think they're
week.
going to see it that way.
You're talking about the perception.
I think it's gonna take a time adjustment for the citizens to get used to that. But I think, like you said, Friday, has never been really that busy,
Yeah.
and.
So one of the reasons in talking with the different agencies, one of the reasons Tarrant County Transportation specifically does 4 days is because of the equipment spin up time. They're actually able to get more done in longer days
Yes.
than they are by shortening it down. So because when you talk about taking our asphalt trailer and going and loading it up and the roller and the skid steer and all that equipment to go out, by the time it takes, and I'm sorry, Gilbert, I'm going to call you on the carpet here last minute, but spin up time to get the equipment loaded, go pick up the asphalt, go out to do road construction. How long does that take at the start of the day to do that?
I was thinking about 2
Okay.
hours.
Yeah.
So by that point, and then you include an hour lunch, at most, they may be getting 5 hours of actual work in. And that's not including tear down time
Yeah,
of bringing the equipment back and then having to wash out the heavy machinery bringing back, you just park it. But bringing back the asphalt trailer, you have to clean that asphalt trailer and everything at the end of the day too. So I think if we do a good job of educating public, and I think they'll probably get more done in doing 10-hour days versus 8-hour days. I think we would probably see more productivity out of them, quite honestly.
I think as long as the citizens know that they are available on emergency on-call on Friday.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Knowing that if they're having a water problem or there really is a problem that needs to be addressed that day, that they're gonna be called to address the situation, I don't think the citizens would have a problem, but they would have to know that.
And then like
Yeah.
cutoff day would just be extended to, what, the Monday?
yeah,
I'm sorry, your mics.
yeah. We're not talking into our mics.
Sorry.
Well, it's because you have yours on and then it's gonna go, "Wing."
I know. But, yeah, the cutoff day,
Well,
I mean, you're looking at two different entities, right? Utility
correct, yes, we would not do cutoffs.
and city. Right? We're looking at two different entities.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So for the utility, Monday through Thursday is good, but if they get called in on Friday, is that gonna be overtime? You said no
No. I said least likely for overtime, not no overtime. It would be the, yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna, no matter what time, whether you work Monday through Friday.
Now, I will tell you, so what Gilbert does when it comes to on-call and things is if for some reason the guys get called in, they get a utility emergency or a water emergency on a Saturday or Sunday now, and they're out there working 6, 8, 10 hours, he's going to push to try to get them to take maybe an extra day off here or there. We try to flex it where we can. Now, we can't always flex, and there's always an hour or two here or there that we do have to pay overtime, but it has never been a budget breaker for us when it comes to water utility. That's just not been an issue for us. But it is the least likely to cause overtime. Option 2 was, yes, 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., and then Friday would be 7:30 to 11:30. So.
And that's for administration, that's for the city, not for the.
That's administration, city services, UB, courts, permitting, that's everybody except for Public Works, just because in our conversations, it takes so much time to spin up equipment and go out and do anything that's really heavily productive for Public Works to do that. Yes, yes.
Still like, hey, citizens are capable of learning new schedules like everybody else. And if maybe we could put an insert in the water bill, not just a note of typing, but an actual insert that says changes. And so everybody can get that and read. That's a good way, everybody gets water bill. And that way we can get it in their hands that way. And there's other ways that we promote information. Yeah. Put it
Yes.
on the signs, blah, blah. But especially in the water bill, an extra insert, yellow paper or something, gets your attention. And then, of course, on the doors, et cetera. Other entities, other cities are doing this. Tarrant County does it.
Well, and quite frankly, and the whole reason this has even come up is because we have lost employees going to municipalities that are going to this, and we've had a hard time attracting employees. This would just be, and let's be frank, I mean, we're one of the lower paying municipalities. So the two things that are attractive to people are when am I working and how much am I getting paid for working? So obviously we've done a good job as best as we can on increasing pay. Council's been very generous in there and working with us over the last couple of years to make those adjustments. This is just one more little notch, I think, that will help be an attractant for us to try to recruit good quality employees to come in. We've lost a couple of Public Works guys going to option for 4 days. Not administration, no, you're stuck with me. Sorry.
6 months. Judy's right. If it doesn't work out, if something's wrong with it, we can always go back to the normal.
That is something that a few of these cities have done, so that is something we can consider if the council would like to do this, is in researching this and reading news articles and talking with other cities, is they all started with a trial period where they did this for maybe the summer, a couple months, tried something, looked to get citizen feedback, see what was good, what wasn't good, and they went back and almost all of them ended up adopting what they went to. But if council would feel more comfortable doing a trial period, we could try to we can put together a proposal to do a trial period for a month or 2 months.
I think that would be
And
good.
then bring it back and see what happens. For 3 months? Okay,
That's a nice lengthy deal.
okay.
I'm good with that as long as we address the court
Sure.
thing, because we
Yep.
should keep court on Fridays. People that are typically in our court have been there more than once, and
Yeah.
it's easier for them to remember it's on a Friday, so.
A lot of people get paid on Fridays to pay their bills.
But we have people that
Right.
the judge, have to come back before the judge later on, so.
Sir, you are not wrong. I will not tell you you are wrong.
I just want to make sure we keep it on Fridays, because it's beneficial to have our judge here and our prosecuting attorney.
So you're looking at
Yeah.
option 2 for the city to be available half day Friday.
No,
Talking option 1.
but
I
I'm good
think-
with the 4 days,
So-
just as
so
long
I
as
think
one
what
day a month.
Yeah, I think what we've got is we've got a little bit of a split.
Edna can move her
So
schedule around to
What I'll
accommodate
bring
that.
back to you will be both. We'll draft policies for both, bring that back to you with a full plan on either one, and let you as council deliberate and decide which way you would like us to go. Because I'm getting, from what I'm hearing, we've got a little bit of a split here, kind of mixing in. So we're open to whatever your decision is, but perfect.
Okay, so we're done with that. The next item is discussion related to the proposed renaming of the public library building.
Closer this way? Sorry. Or yeah, can we bring it back closer this way? Okay.
I think our guy showed up that was one of the citizens' comments.
Oh, okay.
He was wanting to walk up there, and the officer stopped him and said, no, it's already happened.
Yeah. That's good, that's good, that's good, that's good. Okay. All right. So I did send out an email regarding this to council. Obviously, we've made some changes with your approval over at the library building. The library is now serving as office space for our public works department, as well as our detectives in our police department. But the sign out front obviously still says Everman Public Library. So our consideration was to maybe change the name of that building, and as we were trying to think, we don't want to call it a public works annex, we don't want to call it a police annex. It's kind of a mix, and so in casual conversation, we were just talking about, hey, what could we do differently over at that building? We need to take the library off because we don't want anybody to be confused, thinking that they're going to that location and it is the public library. So actually, Director Ramirez proposed the idea of naming it after Charlie Daggs. Charlie Daggs served with the city more than 25 years. He was a resident here in Everman. He was our city mechanic, so he serviced both public works and police, and actually died on the job here. So our thought was to propose it being named the Daggs Building. Obviously, we would be open to any other thoughts or ideas that council has. Keep in mind, we don't know how long that building will be there, depending on what happens with the new city hall design and which way we go, 4 or 5 years down the road. But that would be our recommendation and thought on this. I just wanted to bring it up for discussion. If I have a consensus from council to move forward with that, then we'll come back next meeting with a resolution approving that. But
Thank you.
you're welcome.
I think it would be nice to honor Charlie, the Daggs building.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He was a good guy.
Okay. Okay.
Carolyn. Yeah.
If you did, you would remember him, so.
Yeah, unfortunately, he experienced a heart attack at work while in the shop, and our fire department did everything they could and transported him, but unfortunately, he didn't make it. But he was definitely dedicated. He was not going to retire. It didn't matter what you did. You could not talk him into retirement, so.
He had a purpose.
So you have your consensus on that, so. Next item, discussion related to utility rates for 2024 fiscal year 2025.
And this is where I wear my bulletproof vest. Can you share my presentation, please? Oh, perfect. Okay. So it is time. Typically, we do this in April. April was a little bit full, so we're bringing it to you in May. Very full. So we're bringing it to you in May regarding our water and sewer rates and the review here. So first off, let me do a little bit of review of our financial, and I'm going to read it to you too, so you don't have to break your neck. But 2021, obviously, the city conducted a water rate assessment, and we made major adjustments to our water rates in 2021, which resulted in a $14.45 monthly increase for most residential customers. That was the largest increase that the city has done. And we did so because we had fallen so far behind. We went years and years and years without making appropriate adjustments and surveys. I think most of you served on the council at that time. Our fiscal year 24 water and wastewater budget currently is about 2.5 million, almost 2.6 million. Our current water and sewer fund investments and operating cash is sitting at almost $1.6 million now. And our 3-month operating goal, meaning how much we want to keep in reserves, is $649,283.75. That's how much we are, and we are very close to that. We have done a great job with the adjustments in water rates and building that up. If you recall, in 2021, when we presented this to you, our reserve fund was at $10,000. And we said that, hey, the whole purpose of doing this is that we have no money to adjust or to address any major infrastructure projects that come along, any major emergencies that come along. And even along the way, we've had some emergencies that have popped up that we've had to take care of. We've had well pumps go out that cost, $40,000, $50,000 here and there. We've had major issues that have come up. And fortunately, thanks to the adjustment in rates that were made in 2021, we've been able to address those emergencies with no issue and no concern financially. So that's been helpful, and things have certainly improved in the water and sewer fund. As we're looking at water rates, our goals, I'm going to read it, don't worry. Our goals whenever we are considering water rates are the rates must be set at a level that covers the full cost of producing, treating, storing, and distributing water to the customers. This includes debt service, financial reserves, operation, maintenance, and all regulatory compliance cost. The rates must be fair and equitable, fair meaning that the rate is high enough to cover the full cost of the system, and equitable meaning that each class of customer is paying its fair share of the cost. If you recall, when we did the major overhaul of our water rates, that a commercial user of water was paying the exact same price as a residential consumer of water, even though their impact to the water system was much greater. So we made several adjustments as it relates to that. Our goals are to build a reserve fund that will cover 3 months of operating expense in the event of a catastrophic event, and then obviously to build a capital improvement fund to allow for system improvements and upgrades, minimizing the need to levy ad valorem taxes, issue bonds, and take out any additional loans. Following the 2021 water rate adjustment, we adopted ordinances and implemented impact fees that have certainly addressed that, and we have built somewhat of a healthy capital improvement fund for us to use on identified projects in that fund. So we've done a pretty decent job there. Water system information, so this is just an update for you. That's on that screen, there it goes. Just an update for you to kind of give you an idea of the number of counts. Currently we have, our biggest consumer is obviously residents. We have 1,508 active accounts and 48 inactive accounts. We do have some 1-inch residential customers. We have 127 of those accounts, 2 of which are inactive. We have 306 senior citizen accounts. Now in 2021, when we adopted our rates, we only had about 100 senior citizen accounts. After we adopted the 2021 rates and went forward, obviously that prompted many senior citizens to say, hey, wait, I don't want this to impact me. And so we worked really hard on getting all of those that qualified as senior citizens onto our senior citizen program. So that number has tripled. And so we are definitely helping out our senior citizen population here. We do have a few senior citizen 1-inch, and then obviously several commercial properties in there.
What does that mean, the 1-inch, residential 1-inch?
That's the size of the water line that is servicing that home. And you'll see when I get to the rates why that matters here, just because our rates are based upon the size of the water line that services that location. Total active accounts currently is 2,191. That is 218 more water accounts than what we had in 2021. So when we do our water assessment, the first thing we look at is the TML survey. So the TML statewide survey for 2024 included a total of 237 cities for water. The average cost of water usage is of 5,000 gallons in all cities was $46.23. That's just for water, not for sewer. The average monthly residential consumption in all cities was about 5,611 gallons. Wastewater service was provided in 239 of the cities that responded, and the average cost of wastewater service for residential usage was $36.83. Total average among all cities, large and small, $83.06 a month for water and wastewater only. That does not include refuse, trash, recycling, any other potential fees that could be on a water bill. If cities have a drainage impact fee or any of those things, this is just for water and sewer only.
Okay, wait a minute.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're saying the average, thank you. You're saying the average, first paragraph, was $46.23, average.
For water, yes.
Okay, and then the second one is for
Sewer.
sewer. Okay. What happened?
I have no idea why it's doing that.
Well, it's also flicking between fuzzy and clear.
Yeah, we must have a bad connection on that screen. It's not doing it up here, but it's doing it on that.
Yes, and that's the one I'm looking at. Okay,
Sorry.
go back one more.
Go back, oh, you've got another question, okay.
There we go, yeah. And the second paragraph, it says, is it 3683?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just got my water bill the other day, and my sewer was more than my water.
Yes.
Considerably.
It is higher than.
Okay, okay, so this is just the average.
This is statewide
Okay,
average
okay.
among everybody. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so comparing our current rates with residential averages for 5,000 gallons for like-sized cities throughout the state, I've provided a list here, and I will email this out to you as well,
Thank you.
so you have a copy of it. You know, Lago Vista there at the top, their water average is $52.27 a month. Their wastewater average, sewer average, $72.75 a month. Total average, $125.02. We are seeing that trend a lot. When you get to cities like Kermit, so when I looked at Kermit, I kind of had a stroke. I was like, how are residents paying $18 a month for water
Really?
and $12 for sewer? Let me be clear that, and this is kind of a conversation we actually had with our auditors, that if you recall, one of the biggest reasons why we brought water rates to you was that we were having to supplement the water and sewer fund from general fund. Kermit is one of those cities that supplements water and sewer fund from general fund. But they're able to do that because they have an amazing sales tax base and they have an amazing amount of revenue that comes into the city through ad valorem taxes.
Okay.
We can lower our water rates, but if we lowered our water rates to something along those lines, property taxes will have to remain the same and we will have to supplement our water and sewer fund from general fund. That's what we're trying to avoid because our goal has been to lower property taxes and not have an impact on property taxes. And so it's kind of some give and take. So when you see cities that have a tremendously low water amount, just know that it's because they are supplementing their water and sewer fund from general fund. Overall, if you look at the TML average, the third line from the bottom, the TML average for cities between the population of 5,000 to 10,000, we are below that average. We are below the average in water, and we're above the average by about 30 cents in sewer, but overall we're below by a little more than $4 on the total average. So to give you an idea of what does it mean to increase our water rate and what does that actually impact the resident a month, that's what this slide is. If we were to increase our water base rate by 75 cents annually, that would impact the resident by $9. And it would generate an additional $20,619 in revenue for the city. And increments of 50 cents each going down, that gives you an idea. $2.75, if you were to increase the rate by $2.75, that would impact a residential consumer by $33 a year, giving the city $75,603 additional revenue a year. Again, this slide is just to give you an idea of what that impact does. So this is what our current water rate schedule looks like. It is available on the website as well. But when you look, the way that our water rates work is we charge a water rate for a 3/4 inch residential consumer inside the city, and then we have an increased rate for outside the city because we do have a handful of consumers that live outside of our city that we service. As the water line size increases, obviously the rate increases. Why does the rate increase? Because it is a larger impact on the system. And the meters cost more, they cost more to replace, and so forth. Commercial water rates are obviously higher than what residential rates are. Again, we do service inside. We have the ability to service outside, and as of right now, we only have one consumer that's outside of our city, and that being Timberview Farmstead. That's the only consumer currently that we have outside of our city. Senior citizen rates, we have not changed our senior citizen rates. We did not even change our senior citizen rates in 2021. There has not been an increase on senior citizen rates in quite some time. And then multi-unit, I don't really like the fact that it's on here separately as multi-unit because we charge them the exact same rate as our residential consumers. But that's what our current water rates look like. If City Council was to adopt a 5% increase impact on the base, this is what that water rate would increase per size per user. So this scale, residential consumer who has a 3/4 inch line their water rate would increase by $1.34 per month at a 5% increase.
How do you know what size line you have?
It should be on your water bill, based on your base rate. It'll be on your water bill. I can tell you that almost everybody in the city that's a resident has 3/4 inch, unless you live in New Hannah Ranch. Hannah Ranch has 1-inch water meters in there. No, you brought it with you. All right. We can tell you.
This is just the increase per month, not on the amount of water consumed, or is it the one
Correct.
for the amount of water?
This is on the base rate only. We're not proposing a change on the amount of water consumed. We would only do that if, for whatever reason, we got a notice that Trinity was providing an increase to us. So far this year, we have not gotten a notice of increase from Trinity. Correct. Unless your usage goes up. Assuming the usage stays the same month to month, the only impact would be $1.34 a month. Yes, ma'am. It's dependent on your base rate, so. Nope, you're fine. It does not show you.
I didn't think so. I was just, maybe I missed it.
No. Yeah. I'll pull you up after the meeting and I'll tell you. So total with a 5% increase, for example, the rates would go up. This is a sheet just showing you what the rates would go up. A 5% increase would generate an additional $35,000 in additional revenue for the city. 5% increase compared to like-sized cities and statewide averages, we would actually still be below average. We are not proposing a sewer rate increase this year. We are only looking at the water rate. Traditionally, we've looked at both, and we've traditionally have always gone up on both simultaneously. We are only proposing a water rate adjustment this year. We are not proposing a sewer rate increase. The reason why I put based on 5% is because it's going to be my recommendation that we do a minimum of 5%. We have seen significant increase in costs associated with fuel, electricity provided to the pumps, everything across the board, maintenance. So an adjustment is needed. But again, I don't want to continue to wait year after year to push this off because I don't ever want to come back with another $14, $15 a month adjustment to the citizens. I just don't think that's right. Looking at the consumer price index has gone up approximately 15% since our last increase. The reason why that's important is not necessarily for the resident, but for your knowledge to know that that consumer price index increasing also affects our costs going out for electricity, fuel, everything it takes to provide the manpower, cost of living, the increases that we've given on salary increases and so forth. So our recommendation is going to be a 5%, or a minimum of 5%, which would impact all of our consumers roughly, for most residential consumers, $1.34 a month. If they have a 1-inch water line, it would be $1.98 a month. So with that, I'll take any questions and feedback. We're not asking you to approve water rates tonight. I just want to get what your general feedback is so that we can go back and prepare a fee schedule for you to consider and adopt.
We gotta do it. Okay. Having lived through several years of not raising the water rates, and then bam, we did a $14 one. We cannot do that to the citizens again. Everything is going up. I know that's an excuse, but we have to raise the water rates. And I think a 5% is okay. You might also show us rates for the 10%, just so we have something to pick from. Nobody likes their water bill to go up, but we can't do another $14 hike after 12 years of not having, our water department cannot function like that.
Yeah, 10% would be $2.75 a month.
Okay.
Have the senior citizens doing the same, or are we thinking about increasing them this?
Can't hear you.
It would be my recommendation, because we have not adjusted the senior citizen rate, it would be my recommendation to adjust it based on a percentage, just like we do with water. So if we were to go up 5% on the overall rates, I would include the senior citizen amount in there.
And at 5%, that was around 91 cents.
Sewer and water.
Yes.
Yeah, it would be less.
No, it would just be water. We're only proposing a water rate adjustment this year, not a sewer rate adjustment.
And how many senior citizens do we have in our city?
303
Oh,
that,
303.
and if you give me just 1 second, I will calculate up what a 5% would do to a senior citizen. I did not do that, but I will add that real quick. Was it? Oh, it may have been.
91 cents?
Oh, yes, it is. 91 cents. You're right.
So less than $1.
That's at the 5%?
And I only say that because if
Yes.
we continue to ignore the senior citizen rate, at one point, we're going to be faced with a challenge. Because one of the problems with senior citizen rates is sometimes we get people that get a senior citizen rate, and that rate may stay the same if there's no change in the family for 20, 25, 30 years, and maybe there's no longer a senior citizen living in that home.
Yeah.
And that does happen. And if we don't adjust the rate equally, I do worry that we're going to wind up finding ourselves in a position where now we've got to make a big change to a senior citizen rate, which would only further hinder them. And so,
But even on that, I mean, you know when that senior citizen dies, the rate should automatically come up. But we don't always know.
We're not always notified.
Yeah,
we're
we're
not
not
always
always
notified. The only time that we would be notified is,
Investigate.
sure, if we get a complaint, we absolutely will. But typically, the only time that the water department is alerted to a situation like that is if we have a request coming in to change the name of who the building is in.
Yeah.
We have had people that have unfortunately passed away, and I'm trying to think, I don't want to name any names, but
Exactly.
here recently, we had somebody pass away, and I saw their name on the list, and I went, they passed away 6 months ago, why are they still getting a water bill? And so, unless we go through each month, which that's just impossible to do, but it does happen. And I just don't want to get to a point where now we've got to make a major adjustment on a senior citizen rate.
Yes.
I'd rather make minor adjustments as we go.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they're getting an $8 or $9 break as a senior citizen, so 91 cents is not going to break them. And I say that. Sorry, Lord. Okay.
So tonight I would just like to get an idea of where council is at, so I can prepare a resolution for you to consider. I'm sorry, an ordinance for you to consider next month.
Okey-doke.
Okay, thank you.
That wasn't that hard.
That's it.
Well, I was just wondering if we ought to do the 10 just to get it out of the way, but I'm voicing my opinion, okay? I didn't say anything, we're talking difference between $1 something and $3.
Yeah, but we're going
So-
to need that extra $1 for our McDonald's trip.
Well, and so let me also point this out. So one thing to consider in this is that we are considering the adoption of a drainage utility. A drainage utility goes on the water bill. So if the council moves to adopt a drainage utility and sets that fee $3, $4, $5, $7 a month, they're going to see that on their water bill. So just kind of keep that in mind too. That's probably an important thing to consider as we're looking at this.
Better drainage.
Yeah. So maybe a 5% now.
Yes. One other thing is that we have about a year left on our refuse contract with Waste Connections. We can, when contract negotiations comes up with Waste Connections, we can look at alternatives and see what other options there may be. Maybe if we needed to provide a break, trash may be an opportunity that we can provide something. I don't know, but we'll look at that when we get to those negotiations on
Okay.
pricing. I do expect a pretty hefty increase on that contract.
Yep.
Just because if you recall, last year they attempted to collect a 16% increase, and we denied that based on our contract, putting a cap at 8%, I believe is what it was. So,
Yeah, they'll definitely gun for us.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we good with that?
I am.
All right, so item 13, consideration of possible action. Item A, consider acceptance of the fiscal year 2023 financial audit report as presented by Patillo Brown Hill LLP. I'll entertain a motion.
Consider acceptance. I move we accept. Okay. The fiscal year 2023 financial audit as read.
Second.
Motion, is that you?
Second.
Okay, motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Yeah, just an easy question. How can we accept a draft audit?
Once you accept it, the report will be finalized in the final fancy form, and then we will provide you with a hard copy book. So
The numbers aren't changing.
numbers.
That was my question.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's draft, anything can happen.
Yeah, no, there were a couple of grammatical corrections that needed to be made.
Oh, okay, okay.
So he didn't want to put it through the press until that.
Thank you. Okay, I can live with that.
Anything else? Poll the council.
Place 1,
Aye.
place 2,
Aye.
place 3, place 4,
Aye.
place 5,
Aye.
place 6.
Aye.
Mayor,
Aye.
motion carried.
Item B, consideration of nominations and appointments to the Animal Shelter Advisory Committee.
Sorry. Ray, you want to come on?
He
Okay,
didn't get out of his chair, right? Grabbed him.
so
Been sitting there so
we've got,
patiently.
from staff, we have two recommendations for appointments to the Animal Shelter Advisory Committee. One of those is Dr. Kevin Reeves. Dr. Reeves is a local mobile veterinarian. He has helped us out previously at the shelter, particularly with when we had the major animal hoarding and animal abuse case. He helped us out tremendously there. In conversations with him, he has agreed to help the city out for a professional services fee, which is very similar to what we do in the police and fire side for medical direction. Essentially, that's what we would be doing here. We are finalizing a professional services contract with him right now with the attorney, and anticipate bringing that back to you for final approval. But we would like to recommend that Dr. Reeves be appointed to the committee. And then you've got a recommendation, and I can't recall the name, that's why I called you up here, sorry. But you have a recommendation for the representative from an animal welfare organization.
Yes, sir. Mayor, Council. The recommendation, his name is Alan Pierce. I worked for him when I was in Arlington. He taught me a lot of things. He helped build the animal shelter in Arlington, so he has a ton of experience in the animal welfare business. But he also works with, he's a member of Buddy's Place, and Buddy's Place is a cat rescue. And that, but they come out and they do a lot of feral cat trapping, and they do a TNR program. So he's been very involved with them, and he's very connected with the rescue groups. And I'd like to get him on the advisory board because he can really direct us and hopefully help us connect with even more rescue groups so we can do more life-saving efforts to get more of our animals out.
And what was his name?
His name is Alan Pierce.
Pierce.
Pierce,
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And then our last staff recommendation, well, at least my staff recommendation, so would be for the municipal employee associated with the shelter. Obviously, I would like to recommend Ray Rentschler to be appointed to that committee.
Ray Richardson,
Rentschler?
Rentschler. They're
You
close.
want to spell that?
Rentschler.
Yeah, it's Rentscher.
I left out a lot of letters. Okay. I got it right.
Yeah, I'm afraid they're going to put me on that committee. I'm on enough committees.
This committee is going to be, it should be comprised by ordinance, comprised of 7 members, one of those being a licensed veterinarian. That would be Kevin Reeves if approved. City of Everman municipal officer, which would be one of you, so if you so choose. One representative from the welfare organization, which would be the gentleman that Ray just recommended. And then obviously a member of our team, which would be Ray. So the City of Forest Hill is meeting tonight, and they are considering their 2 recommendations to send over to us. Our recommendation is that we go ahead and make these appointments tonight because we need to have an Animal Shelter Advisory Committee.
Yeah.
The 5 appointments that we would ask for you to make tonight would give us a quorum for us to be able to have that meeting. City staff from Forest Hill will attend the meeting and then brief whatever appointments we make later and bring them in. But we do need to have a meeting.
Okay, so we've got Dr. Kevin Reeves, Alan Pierce, Ray Rentschler.
Yes. We would need at least one municipal officer from the city of Everman and then one citizen from the city of Everman, who in the attorney's opinion can also be a city council member if you so choose. And that would make a total of 5 appointments that the council would make tonight,
Okay,
leaving the last 2 for recommendations from Forest Hill.
okay. Are you still interested?
What is the fee that Mr. Reeves is going to charge you?
$5,000 a year.
Well, that's not bad at all.
No, and so in exchange for that, so he will serve as essentially medical direction. He'll be available to the staff to ask questions. If we have an animal that needs help, he'll be able to assist us in those areas. Obviously, if there's any kind of intense medical care, we will have to pay a medical vet bill above and beyond what we're paying him for that. But he would be available for consultation. He will be conducting an annual inspection with our staff of the shelter, which is required by law. And he'll be serving on the advisory committee as well as obviously the resident expert in providing his guidance on things.
Excellent. We haven't had that in a long time. Okay, ladies, is anybody interested in serving on the Animal Control Board, whatever we're calling
I
it?
think you just got booted out.
That's fine.
That'll be okay. Are you interested? Got you. Uh-huh. Okay, I would like to nominate Judy as our citizen representative. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Okay. That's one of them. Okay. And I would like to recommend me for the municipal person. Boy, that sounds like I'm patting me on the back. I love me. Judy, you recommend me.
Okay, I'm going to recommend Susan Mackey to be on the Animal Control Board, too. Advisory
Okay.
Board.
Okay. Is everybody okay with that? Because I'm okay with not doing it if somebody else wants to do it. Okay. Okay.
No.
Thank you for asking.
You know, I expected
He's-
everybody to kind of fight
he's-
over this. so-
I've sat through enough meetings as it is, so.
Okay.
So then we need a motion for all 5 positions, right?
I
All
got
5
it.
positions.
I got it. All right. I nominate the following appointments.
I move to
I move to appoint the following people to the Animal Shelter Advisory Committee. Dr. Kevin Reeves as the veterinarian, Alan Pierce as the animal welfare person, Ray Rentschler as
city staff.
city staff, of course, Judy Sellers as our citizen nominee, and Susan Mackey as the council nominee,
Municipal officer.
municipal officer.
I
As read.
second.
That was a mouthful.
Who seconded?
Me.
All right, so motion been made and seconded for discussion. Poll the council.
Place 1,
Aye.
place 2, place 3, place 4,
Aye.
place 5,
Aye.
place 6,
Aye.
Mayor,
Aye.
motion carried.
Next item, item C, resolution number 2024-04-02, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Everman, Texas, approving an amendment to the city's personnel manual at section 9.01E regarding appeal procedure for employees appointed by the city manager and providing an effective
There's stuff left off on several of them.
effective date?
Effective date.
Effective
Yes.
date. Yeah. Oh, that's done it on a couple of them. Okay.
3 of them.
It's on the resolution as well.
All right. Was that it, or was there anything else? Just effective date?
Yeah, effective date, that's it.
Okay. So I will entertain a motion.
I move we approve Resolution 2024-04-02 as read.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
This was a tabled item from the last meeting being brought back. Just as a recap, currently our personnel manual allows for any city employee who is appointed by the city manager has a right to appeal to the council. In conversation with our city attorney, and we've had this happen before, we felt that it would probably more appropriate to not make a personnel issue so public, both for the city and the personnel involved, so that it's not so embarrassing for them and it's not so intimidating. If I knew that my job hinged on me going before a board of people in public to try to argue why I shouldn't face a disciplinary action, I probably wouldn't do that. Most cities, in conversation with our city attorney, most cities don't have an appeal process for executive director positions. Pretty much if you're fired by the city manager, you're fired. I don't like that. I think that, and it's me who would be doing the terminating, but I think employees should have an opportunity to go to somebody else to see if there's another side. So that's why my recommendation would be the mayor. Council, if you feel differently and want to make that somebody different, that I'm fine with that. City secretary, assistant city manager, whoever you wanted to pick, I mean, I'd be fine with that. I just want to make sure that we do provide an appeal opportunity. I think it's important to provide an appeal opportunity to our staff, even executive directors. So,
My only concern with this is if it's at this level, if it's a director of some nature, I think the council needs to know what's going on. So if we do pass this, I think we need to make a stipulation that the council is informed. Now, we don't need to know nitty-gritty details, but we do need to know that a city director has been let go for whatever reason, and I don't want us to get cut out of that loop. And we do get cut out of loops when we shift things.
Right.
So categorically, we cannot do that.
so I would make a recommendation then, if that's what you want, to amend your motion.
Oh, no. Okay,
For the procedure to include notification to council prior to the mayor scheduling a hearing. So that way, if a director so chooses to appeal to the mayor, before the mayor hosts that appeal hearing with him, all of you would be notified.
to include notice to the council prior to the mayor's scheduling the hearing. Okay,
Yes, that would be my recommendation.
okay.
And I wholly agree. I think that's good.
Is this just a director, or is this any employee?
Any employee that is appointed by the city manager,
Okay,
which it is directors. If you recall, the incident we had before was with the fire marshal, but I don't usually appoint most employees. The directors normally appoint them.
Okay.
And if they have any concerns or anything, they go to you, right? If the director, and then they go to you, the city manager.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we have a director who terminates an employee, that appeal process comes to me. This is primarily for directors. Yes.
Any further discussion? Would you poll the council?
Wait a
Ms.
minute,
Swan?
I need to,
Oh, hold on.
Sorry.
yeah. Here we go.
Got needed amendment.
I move that we amend? How do I do that?
Move to amend my motion.
Oh, thank you, I don't have to read the whole thing. Okay, I move to amend the resolution 2024-04-02 to include notice of the council prior to the mayor's scheduling the hearing. Did that work? Okay.
I second.
Okay, motion been made and second. Any further discussion on that? Poll the council.
Place 1,
Aye.
place 2, place 3, place 4,
Aye.
place 5,
Aye.
place 6,
Aye.
Mayor,
Aye.
motion carried.
The hard part was reading and scribbling.
Next item, item D, resolution number 2024-05-01, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Everman, Texas, authorizing the submission of a project application to Tarrant County for the 2024 fiscal year 50-year Community Development Block Grant, CDBG project for water main replacement along 800 block of Marlene Drive and providing an effective date. I'll entertain a motion.
I make the motion to approve Resolution 2024-05-01 as read.
I second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
You said that 48,000 is not in account, it's not going to be in the budget till 25.
That is correct, yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
We'll probably add it to the budget ahead of time.
Would you poll the council?
Place 1,
Aye.
place 2, place 3, place 4,
Aye.
place 5,
Aye.
place 6. Aye. Mayor,
Aye.
motion carried.
Next item, item E, resolution number 2024-05-02, a resolution of the City of Everman, Texas, approving the terms and conditions of an interlocal agreement between the City of Everman and Tarrant County for food establishment inspection services, authorizing the city manager to execute said agreement, authorizing the amendment of the city's master fee schedule to reflect the approved fees related thereto, providing for the repeal of any and all resolutions in conflict, and providing a severability clause, and providing for an effective date. I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve Resolution 2024-05-02 as read.
I second.
Motion made and seconded.
Yes, this is,
Yes.
am I off? There we go. This is simply a renewal with the Tarrant County Health Department to conduct our health
Okay.
department function here
Yeah.
in the city.
All right.
Okay.
The alternative to this is the city could establish its own health department, but I don't recommend we do that.
We don't have that much money.
This is essentially just a renewal.
Any other questions?
No.
Would you poll the council?
Place 1,
Aye.
place 2, place 3, place 4,
Aye.
place 5,
Aye.
place 6. Mayor,
Aye.
motion carried.
Item F, resolution number 2024-05-03, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Everman approving a First Amendment to Economic Development Performance and 380 agreement between the City of Everman, the Everman Economic Development Corporation, and Munyea Development Partners, LLC, approving a first amended and restated restriction agreement between the City of Everman and Munyea Development Partners, LLC, authorizing the city manager to sign the same on behalf of the city, providing for a repealing clause and declaring an effective date. I will entertain a motion.
I move we approve Resolution number 2024-05-03 as read.
Second.
Who seconded?
I did.
Linda.
Or wait, did you?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Any motion made second, any further discussion?
Yes. Okay. It looks like they've got places for 12 businesses, and then a restaurant, inside dining, and then a professional building. My concern is, and a deep concern, there's 12 spaces for businesses. How are we going to draw 12 businesses out to this little bedroom community to support this? I want this to happen. I'm deeply concerned that we're not going to be able to fill it up, and now we've got onesie, twosie businesses over here. I mean, that's a lot of property to have this big building built and very little usage. That is my major concern with this thing.
And they're only 1,000 square feet, right? Or, how many square feet? I think it's 1,000.
They look small.
I don't have, give me just a minute, I can tell you.
I mean, if you look at the number of parking spaces behind them, and the number of
So-
parking spaces in front.
Let me give you my perspective on this. First off, anytime we have a developer that comes in and puts together these retail suites like this, they all have the option for, if they get a larger business that wants larger square footage, then they can combine those making it a larger facility.
Okay.
So it doesn't necessarily mean, because we've got 12 retail suites to design, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to have 12 businesses move in. We may have a T-Mobile that comes in there and says, hey, I want 2 of these suites combined into one, remove the wall, separate it. So these are all typically built to suit, depending upon the leasees.
Okay.
The leasing process typically starts long before the development is complete. So they will have leases and agreements typically long before they're ready to open up shop. As this project is under construction, real estate company is working to try to sign on leases to bring them in here. Southern Tarrant County is one of the fastest growing areas in the state of Texas right now. We have a huge boom happening in Southern Tarrant County. I will tell you that I think, frankly, I think it would be a mistake to overlook commercial opportunities because, and don't take this as me talking negatively about our neighbors, that's not what I'm doing, but we see what's happening around us in Fort Worth. We know that it is a housing boom that's happening in Fort Worth, and there is next to no commercial real estate available, meaning Everman has become a prime opportunity for commercial real estate. So this being placed here, the developer has expressed an interest in wanting to, after this project is complete, potentially expanding this project down South Race, redeveloping some of our other areas that are older and need some redevelopment. I think this will bring a lot to the center part of Everman. We know that Wichita is being completely reconstructed and widened, thanks to Commissioner Brooks and his project that he's doing with Fort Worth. The county has funded that project. So we know that Wichita is about to be widened to 5 lanes. That is going to increase accessibility to this location. We know that Forest Hill Drive, thanks to RTC and Michael Morris, that Forest Hill Drive is going to be expanded. So we can expect to see a lot more people driving through Everman, which is going to provide a thriving environment for commercial properties here in Everman. So I think this is a great move, personally. I'm not too concerned. They've already had several discussions. This is a real estate company that has other connections. This isn't their only development. Previously the city has had somewhat of a bad habit of engaging with kind of one-time developers, where
Yes.
there may not be investors on the side, and we're kind of shooting from the hip. That is not the case here. Renee Development has developed other facilities before, so they have relationships established with leasees and interested parties that may want to come in here and do some things. That's why we've had so much discussion about what our desires are and what our needs are here in the community as far as retail and what it is we want. That's one of the reasons why Mike works so hard in the professional portion of this building to make sure that we get a medical component, because Everman does not have any medical component in the city whatsoever. It's not a tax base for us. We get no tax dollars from medical facility other than property tax. There's no sales tax generator, but it's a need that we have in our community. So I personally, I think it's a great development. I would hate to overlook the opportunity.
Nope, I needed to hear all of that
Yes, ma'am.
coming out of you. I'm
Do
a
they
believer.
have any people interested in coming out here?
Yes, I can't, without violating development agreements and violating anything, I can tell you that, yes, they have had several conversations. They do already have a couple of potential leasees, including one for the restaurant. So there are positive conversations happening. And Mike communicates with them regularly, so.
Why did we give them the whole $330,000 plan?
We didn't give them any money
Well, I mean, the property.
in exchange for them developing this here. So that's typically how 380 agreements work. Developers are looking for opportunities to come in, and we have to work a little extra hard, being Everman, to try to attract developments to come in, because we have the highest property tax rate in the county. So as a developer, why am I going to, what is my incentive to want to build in Everman if I can build across the street at a tax rate that is 30 to 40 cents lower than here, and we're talking about $1 million property, right? So we have to provide these sort of incentives through 380 agreements and things to try to attract them, which once attracted, we get them in the door, we get the development happening, we start seeing sales tax generated, property tax generated, revenues that are increasing, ultimately gearing us to be able to lower our ad valorem tax rate. So it's a slow process. It's a science that even I don't understand all of it, but it's a benefit to the city to be able to convey this property to a commercial developer that'll want to come in here and do this. The alternative would be to convey it to either an industrial developer or a residential developer, neither of which I think would be ideal in this location. Third option being we sell it off. If we were to sell it off, I can almost assure that we would be selling it off to individual property owners that would likely develop it into residential. Residential doesn't provide a huge tax base for the city when we're talking about, 5 to 10 homes in that area, therefore not giving us any opportunity to lower our ad valorem tax rate. Does that help?
Okay, yes.
Does that help? Sorry. Okay.
Okay, cool. That's what I needed to hear. So where are we?
So
Are we
any
voting
other-
on this?
We have any other questions on that? Okay, seeing none, would you poll the council?
Yes, sir. Place 1,
Aye.
place 2, place 3, place 4,
Aye.
place 5,
Aye.
place 6. Mayor,
Aye.
motion carried.
Next item, item G, resolution number 2024-05-04, resolution of the City Council of the City of Everman, Texas, authorizing the purchase of an unmanned aircraft drone for compensation in an amount not to exceed $3,000 to be funded by asset forfeiture funds in accordance with the Chapter 59 of the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, authorizing the city manager to execute all necessary documents and providing an effective date. I will entertain a motion.
I make the motion to approve Resolution 2024-05-04 as read.
Who seconded?
Mayor.
Motion been made and seconded. Do you want to explain?
Yes,
or-
please.
Yes.
Okay, so as of March 16th, 2024, the FAA adopted some new guidelines that have pretty much put our drones that we have out of business. They cannot fly. The FAA regulations require that each drone has to be equipped with the ability to broadcast the unit's remote ID. So it means we have to upgrade our drone units to be able to use them. I'm very proud of our drone program. We were one of the first, coupled with Mansfield, at piloting this drone program here. It's proven to be very successful. It's not only supported us on the law enforcement side, but it has supported us on the fire side, and it supported us on economic development when we've had property owners who have asked for us to come out and take pictures of their property to help market and do what we needed to do. So it's really been beneficial for the city throughout. We do have a private donor that has donated $3,000 towards the purchase of a new drone. That is the Everman, Friends of the Everman Police Foundation, Everman Bingo. They've agreed to provide $3,000. We do have a asset forfeiture fund that has some funds available in it. Those funds are restricted and can only be used for a law enforcement purpose. So therefore, I would request that we use up to $3,000 of those funds to complete this purchase and get our drone program back on board.
How much is the drone?
Just under $6,000.
Okay, okay. Cool.
No, we do not currently have it. Once, if council approves this tonight, then we will, I'm sure Sergeant Kilgore will order it. He may order it tonight if you approve it. I don't know. He's going to order it pretty quickly. But no, the drones that we currently do have do not comply with FAA standards, and therefore we cannot legally fly them for law enforcement purpose.
What do they have to broadcast?
The remote ID, the
Remote
unit's
ID.
remote ID.
So they want to know who's flying.
Correct, and remember, it's because we use these for a specific law enforcement purpose. This is not like your recreational drone. Our pilots are certified drone pilots through the FAA. They have to log every flight that they put up. They're very professional programs. It's not like we just went out and bought a drone and threw it up in the air and have a camera. I mean, we have to comply with several standards associated with that.
Your government at work. Okay.
Any other questions? Would you poll the council?
Sir. Place 1,
Aye.
place 2, place 3, place 4,
Aye.
place 5,
Aye.
place 6. Mayor,
Aye.
motion carried.
Next item, item H, resolution number 2024-05-05, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Everman, Texas, approving an amendment to the city's personnel manual at section 3.13C regarding minimum training requirements and providing an effective date. We'll entertain a motion.
You betcha. I move we approve resolution number 2024-05-05 as read.
Motion made and seconded. You want to explain this one?
Yes, so there are three, currently by policy, there are three trainings that are required annually for all employees and volunteers, which includes city council. Those three trainings are sexual harassment, diversity in the workplace, and cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is mandated by legislation to be taken every year. The other two, they've now changed the rules. We can back those off to every 2 years. If you've been in city government for any amount of time, those trainings are monotonous, they're the same, and it's a beating. Now, keep in mind, every new employee that walks through the door gets these trainings day one. So this would just spread the training out a little bit that, hey, you don't have to take your refresher every year, you can now take it every 2 years. This came at the recommendation of our Director of Human Resources.
I just wish they'd changed the videos instead of showing the same ones year after
Really?
year after
Oh,
year.
my gosh.
Okay, any questions or comments? Would you poll the council?
Yes, sir. Place 1,
Aye.
place 2, place 3, place 4,
Aye.
place 5,
Aye.
place 6. Mayor,
Aye.
motion carried.
Okay, next item, item A, ordinance number 814, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Everman, Texas, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 2, Council by amending Section 2-21 Meetings, subsection A, providing for the repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing a severability clause, and providing a savings clause, and providing an effective date. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion, and
I move we approve ordinance number 814 as read.
A second.
motion made and seconded. Discussion.
Okay, so I did send out an email regarding this. Unfortunately, once again, our assistant attorney staffing has changed, and there's been a staffing change there. So we no longer have Lantiqua here with us. So unfortunately, this issue has come back again, but it prompted some more conversation. Victoria would like to be here. The primary purpose that this is being brought to you tonight is to change our meetings to the second and fourth Tuesday, unless you wanted to do a midday meeting, which staff would wholly support. But we would recommend the second and fourth Tuesday. It's not just for Victoria. This would be beneficial for several of us because almost every, it seems like, entity that we work with and other organization has their council meetings on or organizational meetings on the first and third Tuesday. One of those currently being the Tarrant County ESD. Tarrant County ESD regularly meets on is it the first Tuesday of each month or third Tuesday of each, one of those two?
What's ESD?
Third. The Emergency Services District is the entity that funds our fire department for county response, both for fire and EMS. And I will tell you, without getting too much into politics, that there is a lot going on at the ESD level, and our staff needs to be in those conversations. If you're not aware, Tarrant County voters elected to implement a sales tax that was beneficial for the ESD, that has increased funding within the ESD, and there is a lot of conversation about what happens with those funds. So, Chief Watley and Director Patton need to be at those ESD meetings. It makes it hard for them to be at those meetings if we have business to conduct here at the same time. The mayor has expressed it would make it easier on him as well. So once again, I would like to come back and try to appeal to the council to consider to change our meetings to the second and fourth Tuesday of the month. It would also be beneficial because as more and more as we work with our neighbors in Forest Hill, their council meetings are always on the first and third Tuesday. We have staff that gets asked all the time because, for example, tonight, Police Week, when we have a proclamation that recognizes dispatchers or recognizes animal control or recognizes some function we do together, that staff has to try to split to meet the need for both cities. Having meetings on opposing nights would be helpful, that we can be in all the places that we need to be. So,
Comes into play with our animal control too, so.
yes.
So we need to, I guess let's just look at it like, what's the need for the city? We can move, this is just my personal opinion, we can move our meetings from first and third to second and fourth. It's really not going to be that big a hardship on us, it's just going to be a different Tuesday. So I would like to recommend personally that we change. It will help the city, it will help all those meetings we need to go to, and it's just a different set of Tuesdays.
2 o'clock works good too. I'm open to that. Just kidding.
See?
If so adopted, then this would not become effective until June because we do already have a hearing scheduled with the Building and Standards Commission, joint meeting, Building and Standards and City Council on the 21st. We cannot change that meeting night. So this would not become effective until June. But keep in mind it's June, and what always happens in June? Budget. So we're going to be meeting pretty regularly anyway for budget.
So any discussion?
We okay with it? Okay.
Would you poll the council?
Yes, sir. Place 1,
Aye.
place 2, place 3, place 4,
Aye.
place 5,
Aye.
place 6. Mayor,
Aye.
motion carried.
Next item is city manager's report.
I do have a couple of things. Sorry, I know it's already late. This has been a long meeting. First thing I wanted to brief you on is the flood study related. Obviously, that's important because we just experienced another flooding here in Everman. 14 homes were affected. I did send all of you a brief regarding that. We are working on trying to find some support avenues for those individuals through some of the volunteer organizations such as American Red Cross and others that have been very helpful on that front. The flood study has been finalized from county and is submitted to FEMA. I'm sorry, it is being submitted as a final package back. So we are now clear to begin applying for mitigation funds. So I wanted to brief you very quickly on how that works so both you and the citizens are aware of how that works. Mitigation funding is not something that comes around once a year. It is something that comes around each time that there is a declared disaster in the state of Texas. So if for whatever reason we have a wildfire outbreak in the Panhandle and the governor declares a disaster, there may come a mitigation grant opportunity for us to apply for. Yes, we as the city can apply for mitigation grant funds for flooding, even though the disaster was declared for a fire. That's just how the program works at the federal level. Each time there's and pretty much the primary reason that occurs is because when a disaster declaration occurs at the state level, there are now federal assets and state assets that are being mobilized. It's a prime opportunity to open up the resources for maybe to help address any other mitigation projects that may be out there. It just means, hey, we're already mobilizing, let's open up the door and see what happens. So that's typically how mitigation funding works. So I cannot sit here and tell you when the next mitigation grant is going to open up. It's just kind of, we'll know when we know.
Doesn't Houston have one?
I'm sorry?
Doesn't Houston have one?
The Houston, not city, there needs to be a statewide disaster declaration. So the governor needs to declare a statewide disaster declaration. He can affirm local disasters, but there needs to be a statewide disaster declaration.
For the mitigation funding.
For the mitigation funding to be open.
Okay.
And then typically it has to meet a minimum threshold through FEMA, which we're familiar with, damage thresholds, we're familiar with that. So as long as it meets those criteria, mitigation funding will come out. There may come one from what happened down in Houston, but it just hasn't happened yet.
So based on what you just said, are we going to have a list of things that we might want to have money for in case mitigation funding were to pop up?
So yes, that is something that we need to plan for, and that is something that we'll discuss during budget. But we already have projects identified and cost estimates identified for the purpose of applying for those grants. That's what the study provided.
That's right.
So I just kind of wanted to brief you on that, and then highlight too that, you know, I know that there's been some media stories that the city is still very much working, and I don't have to tell you this, but, you know, we're obviously still very much working on the flooding issue. It has not gone by the wayside. It's not been put on the back burner. It is just an unfortunate process that we have had to go through. So as we look to the budget, I have already requested from TMP, like we discussed previously when we discussed the drainage utility implementation. I've already requested their professional services fees for us to consider using them for the drainage study that would be required, the drainage utility study that would be required to implement a fee. So we will likely consider that with budget and a couple other things. So we're still making some progress there. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is we did have a citizen speak tonight related to our sign ordinance. We are working with Victoria on trying to amend that sign ordinance to allow for those sorts of things. I believe the feedback I've gotten from council is a general consensus in favor of this. So we just want to make sure that we're doing things correctly. So we're probably going to bring that back to you pretty quickly to try to get that taken care of and cleared out the proper way. So just be prepared for that. But other than that, I don't have anything else, man.
Regarding the people that got flooded, did any of them have the insurance to cover it, or did you go that far?
So, yeah, there were a couple that did have insurance.
Were they
No,
owners
not
or
all.
renters?
Owners.
Owners?
Yeah, the ones that I spoke with are owners.
They did or did not have insurance?
Did.
Okay.
They did have insurance.
So only a couple?
Only a couple that I know of had insurance. I
Okay.
don't know, we didn't survey which ones did and
Okay,
didn't.
okay.
But 14. 14.
Okay, so with that being said, mayor's report, the only thing I've got, what we did tonight for the Binions, I want to come up with something in writing to present to you guys, honoring our businesses that have been here for a long period of time, 50-year plus wedding anniversary, maybe birth dates, things
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that, on 5-year increments potentially.
Yeah.
But I'm going to bring something to you guys, and we can fine tune it, and that way, council, if they run across somebody that fits in the category and they want to honor them, we can do that.
Yeah, that's great.
And it'll give us guidelines.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know Mark's coming up on close to 50 years on his barbecue place. Crossroads just had 45 years.
Whoa.
I just heard that the other day.
Well, they had a big thing on, was it Saturday?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that, at last 3:30, whenever, can't remember what they, anyway.
Well,
Yeah, they
somebody
had a
told
big
me,
thing about it, yeah.
somebody told me about it, but I was on my way to watch my grandkids play ball, so,
Well,
so I missed it, so.
we're a little town. I think this is a great thing to do, just to let our citizens know we're thinking of them. I love that.
I just don't want to do something where every night we have a meeting, we've got 5 or 6 or 7 of them we're
Right,
doing.
right.
But,
Yeah, let's set
I
some
want it to be
guidelines, but
meaningful.
Yeah,
You know, like the Binions, if they're here in 75 years, then we'll have them back again,
Yep.
you know, so. But I'm gonna come up with something in writing, just kind of a policy for us, and,
so for budget purposes, we need to add money for plaques.
We have that.
Okay,
we didn't spend a lot of money on this, I don't think, you know. But
you never know what's gonna happen.
anyway, just something I'd like to do, and
I think it's a good idea.
but I'll bring it back to you, maybe not next meeting, but maybe the one after that,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah, next meeting's probably gonna be long.
yeah, hopefully not as long as the previous one, but anyway.
That's it. 10 o'clock.
Recognize citizens and go above and beyond, you know.
Absolutely.
Do that.
Well, we can always do that, but I want to have a policy for,
Maybe our valedictorian
Celebratory
salutatorian
things.
every year.
so, but we'll get something and we'll work on it and get it forward, so.
Or valedictorian salutatorian.
With that being said, the time is 8:28 and we are adjourned.
Yay! Turn that off.